Wow.
I am so like wore out. Like I'm wore out to the nines, man.
I could go for a coffee.
Yeah. Oh, could you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, act like you're going to be on coffee tonight. Yeah. Well, welcome to Nick's Right Podcast, where Nick is always right. Old millennial.
Gen X, baby.
Hey, you can tell like
The one and only
introduction that we are just like doing 3 in a row this week.
I know, dude. We're getting
So
good at this.
I'm gonna pray and then get into our sponsors. By the way, during our sponsors, Carl, that's whenever I'm going to throw the curveball at you.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's going to be great. All right.
Great.
Lord Jesus, thank you for this time. Thank you for the ability to do 3 episodes in a row in 3 days. I ask that you would bless each episode. Bless this episode. I know we're going to be learning a lot about Carl's testimony. I pray that you would speak through him and let him remember all the details and let this episode glorify and honor you in everything we do and say. We love you. We thank you. In Jesus' name. Patriot
Amen.
Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/NRP. PatriotMobile.com with the code NRP. Here's my curveball.
Okay.
I think you should switch all of the company phones to Patriot Mobile.
Yeah, I consider it. Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Let's do it.
you'll probably be paying less amount of money per month,
Okay.
but you're going to get a higher importance. So, in other words, who are you with right now? With the company?
T-Mobile. I
Okay, so
believe.
you can stay on the T-Mobile network, but you'll have a higher importance on the network because you're with Patriot Mobile.
Really?
Yeah, they have this. They have worked out through their aggregation, through their agreements with the networks. They've worked out some kind of deal to where you get second importance only to first responders.
Huh.
Yeah. So the way it works right now, you're just a regular customer at T-Mobile. You're like not necessarily bottom of the totem pole, but you're definitely not up there next to first responders. It goes first responders and then Fortune 500 CEOs. Like that's who gets the second important importance on the networks is Fortune 500 CEOs. So they've worked out a deal to where their customers, all of their customer base gets the same importance as Fortune 500 CEOs. So whatever network you're on, you're going to have a better signal because you're with Patriot Mobile.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in.
Yep.
I like it.
Use the code NRP. Don't you dare screw us on that.
So it really wasn't. That's right, man. So it really wasn't
never.
throwing you a curveball. It was throwing you a pitch.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
actually a
sells it.
pitch. Yeah, that was like.
Yeah.
But it sells itself.
Yeah,
it really
totally
does. And plus, they're a conservative Christian company.
Which we
I
wanna
think
support.
we definitely want to support that. They love the country. They love Jesus. And actually, the CMO for Patriot Mobile is going to be on next week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So his name is
Very
Scott. That's who I forgot about his name last night. I apologize, Scott. But yeah, great guy. I've talked to him a couple times, and he's also the one that I've pitched sponsoring the movie to. And
Okay.
he just says, "Yeah, we're ready to see the scrner whenever you guys are ready to show it to me."
Rock and roll.
So
I like
I'm
it.
looking forward to that. Can
Very
it be
cool.
ready by next week?
Does that answer the question?
I think that is a clear,
I hope that
clear
answers the
answer, Nick. Live Audio, LIVV Audio, not LIVE, LIVVaudio.com. Put in the code NRP for a 15% discount on premium headphones. Nick's Right Podcast merch. We got the Beyond Sight graphic novel. We just sold another one, $14.99. If you buy it from us, and we will sign it for you and send it out. We'll even take a selfie with it if you want us to. And then Christ is King hat. Nick's got the Deus Vault line.
Deus Vault line.
By the way, Deus Vault line is Nick's baby. So we've got a whole Deus Vault
It's my idea,
apparel
but
line.
it was our
And
baby.
then we have a Jesus is
It was
King.
our baby, Nick.
No,
it was
your
my
baby.
idea.
Jesus is King line. We also have a Nick's Right Podcast, the logos line, like the actual logo of the Nick's Right Podcast. And now we're going to hear from Carl. Oh, by the way, subscribe to our Substack, Nick's Right Podcast on Substack. Free newsletter.
And 426.
Are we on?
Huh?
Is 426 on?
On what?
Substack.
No. I don't know. Maybe.
No, I think it's just Alliance Studios.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, go to all of our social media platforms for 426 movie. Movie's coming out soon because that's the last episode that Carl was on. We were talking about 426. Make sure you follow all of that and share all the content.
Yes, please.
It's going to be awesome. Yes. So we are here tonight because we want to hear Carl Wyant. Wyant's testimony. And if I could give a preview, you are now Catholic.
Yes.
Before you were Catholic, you were a Protestant Christian.
Yes.
You are now a Catholic Christian.
Correct.
Yeah. And before that, you were Luciferian.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
You want to start from the beginning? Or
In the beginning. Yeah.
Let's go, man.
Yeah, start all the way from the very
Well, I mean, because you said you've
It's
gone
quite
through
a journey.
Yeah, you've
It's
gone
quite
through
a
a lot.
journey.
It'll probably take you about an hour. So
Oh.
we'll interject every now and then.
I'll try to fit it in an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, I need at least.
Give us the best parts.
Okay. All right. So, I was born, and I was a baby.
We're all tired, so just bear with us.
All right. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, quite a journey, and
Talk into the mic. Yeah.
look at the mic.
Talk into the mic.
All
You
right.
tend to pan away from the mic. Talking to the mic.
Creates drama.
Yeah, sure.
It brings people in. It's like
It definitely creates drama in my mind.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Talking to the mic.
yes.
It makes heads explode.
So I suppose the journey started roughly around when I was 14, 15 years old. I was my grandmother. She was like my second mother, and she raised me while my parents were off working. They were young, and she took care of me. And she was such a holy woman. She was so beautiful, just a beautiful spirit, beautiful soul. What a traumatic life she had. I mean, some of the craziest things I've ever heard a human go through. My grandmother went through, and you would never, ever, ever think she went through anything. She just radiated with light and with love and joy. And so she took care of me very, very well. So around 14, 15 years old, she had gotten stomach cancer. And stomach cancer is like one of the worst cancers that you can get. And it just destroyed my world because it was just like, it just came out of nowhere. Obviously, it was there. You know, cancer is kind of like dormant until there's something that just kind of makes it blow up. And then when she got diagnosed, it wasn't even maybe 3 months before she died. But it completely rocked my world as a young kid. I was like, oh my gosh. And that's when the hate that I had for God really just started, because I'm like, this person is so good. Why does such evil happen to someone so good? And that just completely marked my heart. And at that point, I didn't understand Jesus. I didn't understand Christianity. It was more cultural at that time. I'm a Colombian and Italian and a little wee bit Irish. So, it's all Catholic all the way through, right? But I didn't understand it. I hated it, quite frankly. It just never made any sense. But I respected it because it was part of my family, right? It was just like something like that. My dad didn't care about none of it. He's from Brooklyn, New York. He couldn't care about anything like that. My mom was more lukewarm. It was more cultural, if anything. And for me, it was just like I just went to mass and, just try to make fun of people and throw things across the pews and do all that kind of stuff. So when she had passed, I quickly I was like, God's not real. Like, this is just BS. I'm not going to believe it. If there was a good God, he would take care of his people, but he obviously does not. And so that seed just started growing and growing over time. So as I fast forward into my high school years, into college, I was really into the, more or less like science, quantum physics. I love the subatomic particle molecular world and how it comprises all the things that are material in this world. And it gave me explanation ultimately as to how this world kind of came to be and how it works, how it operates, and so forth. And I was always enamored too with just the macro and the micro universe. And to me, that was always just fun. It was great to learn. I love that stuff. And did I ever think there was an intelligent designer behind it? No. I just, I believed from Richard Dawkins, all the books that I had read and all the things that I was kind of going through, it was just, this cosmic, bang and the big bang that occurred and so on and so forth. And that just kind of followed me throughout. And I had a deep, deep hate for the name of Jesus. Like, I could not stand hearing that name. I hated Christians. I thought they were the worst people on earth. And I hated anything that had to do with Christianity. Like, it just bothered me. Like, the moment anybody would say they were Christian, immediately I would just like, move on.
Wow.
And so roughly when I was 19, so I'm from New York. Still am a musician, but
it doesn't leave.
Yeah, it never leaves, right? But so I was in this rock band, heavy metal band, and we decided that I wanted to kind of pursue like this career of becoming a rock star. So I decided to move to LA, and that's a whole nother story just to save time. But basically, the long and the short of it is, had to travel from New York to LA by car because some individuals decided that they were going to manage me as an actor. I went in for this audition and they wanted to bring me to California, to Hollywood, so that they can do this movie and introduce me to agents and managers. But it was a whole scam, and I paid their whole way to California. I paid for every hotel, all the food, everything like that. And there's some crazy stories within that. Probably the craziest was we got into... where's Disneyland in
Anaheim?
Anaheim. Thank you. So we got into Anaheim after it was like about a 2.5-3 month trip to get from New York to California. We would stop many different places along the way.
2.5-3 months?
Yeah, because so we stopped in Ohio. Because there was these two individuals who were supposed to have plane tickets to get us to California. They came up with this silly little story that I kind of knew it. I saw the red flags, but I just really wanted to get to LA. So I was like, okay, whatever. Yeah, we'll get to Ohio. You guys figure it out. And the woman, her name was Tiffany. She had family in Ohio, and we stayed there for about a month, and that was really crazy. We were like in the ghetto. I slept on the floor. I mean, it was that's just a wild story, which, it's not part of the testimony, but there was just a lot of little landmarks along the way.
You put a theme
then it
to
took
it.
you
You've got
3 months.
Yeah.
It took you 3 months.
Well, you put a theme to the whole thing, and you've got an adventure book.
It's an adventure book.
Just waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
Right
yeah, it totally is. It's like, okay, here we go.
Kind of an a comedy of errors,
Yeah, and bad decisions, bad decisions.
Of course.
So we finally get into Anaheim, and this is where things get really crazy. So we get into Anaheim. I get a motel, right? Because at that point, I spent everything that I had at that point, and we were supposed to go to these La Brea apartments. That's where I had left the deposit when they told us, "Hey, we're going to go to Hollywood, and you're going to be in a movie, and we're going to introduce you to producers and managers, and blah 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 blah." It's like, okay, great. Where am I staying? Well, we've got this deal at the what did I just
The
La Brea apartments. Gosh, my brain. I need coffee.
I know.
I need coffee. The La Brea apartments, and I was like, okay, great. So they're like, we're gonna go up there. That's in Los Angeles. We're gonna be in Anaheim here for the next few days just to get things coordinated, and then we'll go up there. I was like, oh, great. Okay, great. One night, it was the 4th day we were at this motel. I'm sleeping, and this is gonna sound really crazy, but I'm sleeping. There was 2 beds, 2 queen beds. Mm-hmm. Tiffany and Daryl, which are the 2 people who brought me over there, right? We're sleeping in one bed. On the other bed was Carl and this other guy that we had picked up along the way named Boubacar.
You just picked him up?
Well, he actually was like a really handsome African-American who they basically told him the same exact story that we would manage you and do all this kind of stuff. So
did he have money?
He had a little bit of money. So it's kind of like we started kind of sharing once we got him at the third leg of the trip.
Yeah.
Sweet guy. Really, really, really nice guy. And he was trying to actually just make this dream happen for his kids. He had like 3 young kids. And so that was, that was his heart ultimately. But we were in the same bed, right? We were sleeping. Yeah. It's wild. On this 4th day that we're there this night, it's like probably around 2 a.m. I'm getting like shaken, woken up. They're like, Carl. I was like, what? and I'm like, and they're like, listen, hey, we got to borrow the rental. Okay, where's the keys? I'm like, what do you mean? What keys do they want? So I had rented a car all the way from New York, and this is the same car that I'm still paying for like 3 months later, by the way.
Wow,
yeah,
that's a fortune.
And so they're like, we got to rent a car. We got to take the car. And it was like, where's the keys? I'm like, I'm not going to give you the keys. Where are you guys going? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, what are you guys trying to do? They're like, you don't want to know? Do you want to make things right? And do you want to get your money back? I was like, yeah, of course. They're like, all right, then give us the keys. I was like, fine. I'll drive wherever you guys want to go, but I'm not giving you the keys. They're like, okay, let's go.
I know where this is going.
Man, we go. I don't know LA, and I don't know the area. I'm from New York. This is my first time in California, and then we get to a place called Crenshaw. This city.
Heard all about Crenshaw.
Yeah,
it's in all the
TV shows,
primetime TV
movies,
shows where something bad happens.
Yeah,
Crenshaw.
Yeah, and something bad did happen. So we get to this spot. We get to this particular location that they were looking to get to, and I'm like, all right, go do what you need to do. I'm gonna go late. Put the seat back, and I'm just gonna take a nap. They're like, we don't think you should stay here by yourself. You probably should come with us. You'll be better protected. And I'm like, where am I? They're like, don't worry about it. It'll be quick. I was like, okay. Man.
How old were you?
19.
19.
19.
19.
Okay.
You know, when you're young, man.
I was going to say, tell me you weren't 31.
Over 20 years ago, so.
Yeah, right.
Man, but it's a journey, right? It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a stories. I wouldn't be here telling the story if it didn't happen, right? So we start walking, and essentially there was this like big. It was a nightclub, is where we were going to, right? And we were getting up to this nightclub, and we walk across the street. The two of them, it was Daryl and Tiffany. They're like, hey, listen, stay here. We're going to go up to the door and we're just going to talk to some people and just stay right here. Stay near us. Don't go anywhere. You'll be fine. Okay. So I chill back. I let them go forward, and I'm just observing. I'm watching, and I'm looking around. I'm like, where am I? Because it's dark. It's like at this point, it's like 2:45 or whatever it is, right? And suddenly, this individual comes out. I guess he was the nightclub manager, owner. I don't know, but he was like albino with like blonde dreads and all that.
Oh my
And
God.
he comes out.
It's one of the Matrix twins.
Yes, just like that. Yes, one of the Matrix twins.
Way to reference the
Awesome.
Matrix.
Yes, yes. And so I'm just watching, observing. I'm trying to see like what they're doing, and evident, obviously they're doing some sort of drug deal. I'm seeing that happen right in front of me, and as I'm observing, suddenly I hear screeching car. Oh, whack! I get shot in my knee.
Your knee.
Yeah, my fourth day in California was like, welcome to California. And oh gosh.
I'm not laughing at your turmoil.
No, but at the situation.
Yeah.
It's at the situation. So I drop like a ton of bricks, and and it's kind of like, when you're watching a movie and somebody gets hit and it's like everything just goes in slow motion, goes.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's like my whole internal being just kind of like shut down. And it was, and I still remember it as clear as yesterday. Like I still hear the sounds and I feel that and all that stuff, because at that point there was people who were starting to come out of the club, right?
Oh.
And so there was, so everything kind of shut down, and I did not recognize what was going on. And then after, I don't know how much time, all the sound came back, and it all came back. And all of a sudden I hear women screaming and all this kind of like commotion going on. And I'm like trying to get sense of the reality, of this situation. What is going on? I'm on the floor. And suddenly I'm feeling this pain in my knee, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this pain that I'm feeling? And so I'm like, did I twist my knee? Did I twist my leg? I don't know what's going on. But then suddenly I start feeling heat, like unbearable heat. And so I roll up my pant leg and I go and I just see a volcano of blood squirting out from my patella, just going, like an eruption. I was like, and I'm like, my brain can't process what's going on. Then to the left of my leg, right here, where this scar is, the bullet got lodged in there.
Yeah.
So it was burning. It's a hot bullet burning.
I've heard of this.
Everything that was around there. And I was like in dire pain. And I was just taking my nails to try to rip through my skin to try to get that bullet out.
Wow.
It was so intense. So that was my...
That was graphic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I knew it was coming because I've heard the story before. But
A volcano of blood.
A volcano blood.
Sorry, Dana.
Yeah. So then from
Great
there...
storytelling.
It is great storytelling.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's awesome. Yes. But yeah, it's definitely crazy. And I remember when finally the ambulance came, they look at my license. They're like, "You're from Little Neck, New York. What are you doing in Crenshaw? Like, what is going on?" I was like, I don't even know. And from that point on, what ended up happening is I went to the hospital. So this is the first blessing, right? This and mind you, spiritually speaking, atheist all the way. Like I'm not a believer. I hate everything that has to do with God. But he still showed up.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the blessing. When I was younger, I played football and I was a running back, and I would always have a certain knee pain in my right knee. It was diagnosed that I had what's called a calcium deposit, which is basically extra calcium that was formed on top of my patella. Guess where the bullet hit?
Right there.
Right there. And it was strong enough to stop it from shattering my whole entire knee.
No way.
Yes. And when I went into the hospital, they saw nothing but bone fragments everywhere. So they thought the worst immediately, right?
It was that calcium
But it was the
deposit.
calcium deposit.
Wow.
Which is why I'm able to still walk today. I mean, I have a dent, and later on you can put your finger and feel the dent of where it was still strong enough to like dent the patella,
Yeah.
but not strong enough to completely shatter it.
Wow.
So that was the first miracle, you know. And
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I didn't know that part about it.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot there. So I was in the hospital for roughly about a month, and
Golly, that long?
Yeah. So
this is 3 months on the road.
4 days in
one
LA,
month.
and then 1 month in a hospital. Correct. And I had so much hate and like just pent up like just anger towards these individuals because I haven't seen them. They fled the scene. Like when I got shot, I didn't see anybody. Everybody left, and I was
that was
by
the last
myself.
time you
That was-
saw them?
No. That
there's a story
coming.
there.
Oh, there's a story there.
Okay.
So oh gosh, what time do we have to?
Go ahead. Just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had all this like anger, and you know when you're by yourself, right, and you have no family, nobody's coming to visit you, and you're going through something like that. And I had a cast all the way from my hip all the way down to my ankle,
Like a
right?
hard cast where
Hard
you couldn't
cast.
bend?
Yeah,
Wow.
couldn't bend. It was like I walked around like you know my leg was like this, right, with crutches, and so while I'm in there, I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, where are these people? I still got stuff at that motel, my rental car, like all these things are going through my brain. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I remember when I was getting released, I didn't even know where to go. I just remember going down the hospital, man, I get chills just thinking about it. It's like I can remember it like it was yesterday. I remember going down the hallway of the hospital on crutches with a little bag of stuff that I had from that night. And I'm like, I don't know what to do because my cell phone got lost that night too. So I don't even have a phone. And I'm going. I go take the elevator and I get out and I come outside and sure enough, who do I see? Daryl and Tiffany. They're right there. And as much as I wanted to like, I was really happy to see them.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, there's still a chance, you know, for something good to happen. So there they are waiting for me with the rental car. And that really kind of peed me off a little bit, right? And I was like, "You guys still?" And I'm like, "All right." And so I went into the back. I couldn't bend my knees, so I had to kind of lay, you know, flat on the back seat. And we go back to guess where? The motel that I'm still paying for.
Still paying for.
Yeah.
Along with the rental car.
Along with the rental car. Yes. If I told you how much money I lost during that whole entire thing, it was like $27,000.
Oh
wow!
And that's not
that.
Yeah. So what was really interesting? Well, partly it was my parents gave me a little bit of money when I left, right? And partly I was doing. I hate to mention this, but I was doing a little modeling at the time, and I was making some decent money off of that. So, and that was what I was saving up to be able to go to California.
Okay, so you had it all put back.
Yes, correct.
You spent a chunk of it just getting there.
Yeah, exactly. And not to make mention, here's a funny story. Not really funny, but if you are a victim of a crime, because I did not have insurance at that point. So the bill was $25,000.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how did you pay for that?
Right. But if you're a victim of a crime in LA, they'll pay for it. The city will pay for it.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. But here it is. I was still a New York resident because I was only there for 4 days.
So you had to pay for it.
So I had to pay for it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But the beauty is that I ended up getting a lawyer down the line, and they were able to clear it off and all that kind of stuff. So it was taken care. But it was a little nerve-wracking in the midst of all the other things that I'm going through, right?
Oh heck yeah!
And it was crazy, and I couldn't believe like the city of LA pays for you being a drive-by victim. Like that's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward, we go back to the motel. Guess what? We go into the room. My luggage is gone. I had a big duffel bag with my laptop. You know, at that time they were DVDs, so I had my favorite DVDs with me. You know, I had a bunch of stuff and all that, and it was all gone. And I'm like, "Where is it?" And they're like, "That night when you got shot, someone broke into the place and stole everything." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." And at that point, I just got super PO'd, and I was like, "That's it, we're done here." I went to the front desk. I stopped the thing. I was like, "You better figure it out where we're gonna go. Where's the library apartments? We should be going there." Blah 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 blah. They're like, okay. We got a place we're gonna go. We're gonna go to my uncle's house.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "All right, well that's better than paying a hotel."
Yeah.
Right. So I said,
And
okay.
this whole time you're hobbling up and down the hallway with
his cast from my hip,
full-legged
a full-legged
cast.
cast. Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna
Great
kick
details
your
that I
butt
didn't know about.
with my
Like-
one good foot.
So now we're going to her uncle's house, and oh gosh, man, this is another crazy story. Oh, God be with me. All right, I'll try to go as quickly as I can with this one, because this one also I stayed there for 2 months. this
My
place.
gosh. Okay.
So we go and we travel and we go to her uncle's house, which is kind of in a deserty kind of area, roughly about small little town, like about maybe 45 minutes north of Anaheim, like northeast of Anaheim. And we drive up there. I fall asleep. It's like a movie, you know. It's like, it's like I remember just going onto the driveway and hearing the gravel, you know, as the car is going on the driveway, the rocks and so forth. And the door's open. I get out, and her uncle is sitting at the corner of his garage, and I don't know what he's doing. He's got a knife and he's like chopping, like slicing wood. I don't know what he's doing. He's doing something. He's just watching. And I'm hobbling up, you know, thank God we're going to be in a house. And it was like a decent looking house. I was like, okay, cool. And then the guy looks at me, and he talks to Tiffany, his niece, and goes, and why the hell would you bring this white boy into my house?
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm not even white. I'm like brown, you know? It's like, but he goes, he ain't going to be living in here with me. I don't know.
Wow.
And I was like, and she goes, listen, he's okay. He's good. He's like one of us. He said, blah, 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 blah. And then he's looking at me. He's like, okay.
Was he not white?
So they were all black. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he...
We're not politically correct here. You don't say African American. They black, man.
They black.
They black.
And he's going, what is this white boy doing? It all makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a connective dot for you. Yeah. I don't lead with that, you know. I let people kind of just fill in the blanks, you know. It
was easy to fill in, and he's calling you white.
Boy,
And the way you actually acted out his role, like, oh, he black.
Yeah. Well, until then, I'm seeing white
Crenshaw.
people.
It was Crenshaw. You know, I knew it was Crenshaw.
Yeah.
Oh, he black.
Crenshaw at a club at 3 o'clock, drive by. I should have figured this out.
So I just remember in that moment, I felt like emotions just starting to rise up in me, right? Because I'm like, God, what am I? I'm saying God now because I'm, you know, Christian. But at that time, I was like, what am I doing with myself? Like, what is this? This was crazy. Like, I'm like going into a house with some dude does not want me to be there, right? So I asked for the bathroom, and this is where it gets really crazy.
Oh.
So the guy's like, he tells me, he directs me to where the bathroom is. It's through the back, and I go through this back door. It's like it's a patio. You walk through, you open this door, and as soon as I opened the door, there was this stench of death in there. I mean, it was so bad. And I was like, oh, and it was dark. Like there was no light in this room. And I was like, and you know, I'm coming from outside. It was daylight, right? So my eyes are trying to adjust, and I'm like, oh, I thought it was like the toilet overflow. I don't know what was going on, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, he says, once you open the door, you got to go to the next door and make your right there. I was like, okay, you know, and as soon as I open the door and I walk in, and I can't see anything, so I'm just like, all right, just walk straight to the door, right? I'm trying to get my eyes adjusted, and I hit something, and I hear someone go, and I look down, and there was the room was probably about maybe 3/4 of this size of this place.
Yeah.
And there was roughly about maybe 30 homeless people stacked on top of each other in there. Yes.
Wow.
And,
what?
Yes, and I was like, and they would like, and it was they would like murmur. I don't know if they were drunk. I don't know what was going on. And I quickly walked to the other side to the door, opened the door, went into the bathroom. I stared at, and I opened up the sink, and I was washing my face, looking at myself in the mirror, and I just started bawling, crying. Like I feel like crying right now just remembering that. You know, I'm like, oh my God, and I'm shaking. I'm like, oh, what is going on? This is insanity.
That guy sounds like a serial killer.
Stacking
up homeless guys.
Yeah, well, I found out that he allows them to live there. What I found out later on, because I was there for almost 2 months, is that he allows them to live there as long as they work on his property and do all his work.
Wow.
And sleep in the little dark room.
Sleep in the little dark room. Correct.
Like labor trafficking. Kind of.
And so guess where they put Carl to sleep?
No, not the little dark room
in the middle of all of that.
Wow, because you're a white guy.
Because I'm the white guy, and he really did not like me at all. Like he did not like me at all, and I was in a lot of pain. So I didn't have at that point. Like I had very little money. Right, I couldn't get medicine. He happened to be a nurse, so I know.
The details of this, like what the crap?
I know. So Tiffany tells him, take care of him. We're gonna go to the La Brea Apartments. We'll be back by the end of the week.
They didn't come back for 3 months.
They didn't come back for almost 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Had a feeling.
And
I got a feeling. Sorry.
And so he gets me the medicine. This is crazy. So he gets me the medicine, but, he wants to play a game. You know what the game is? I want you to drink alcohol, vodka, straight before you take your medicine. And because
You can't do that, though.
I know you can't.
Oh.
I didn't have much of a choice.
Well,
because he was getting your medicine.
He was getting my medicine for me.
Clinical sadism on his part?
This was complete evil. Like, when I tell you evil upon evil, like, I saw what this dude was doing, evil stuff. And I would get completely annihilated, taking the medicine, getting completely blitzed off of my mind. And I was doing weird stuff just from it, I was, like, throwing things in there, was hitting people, with things that I would just throw around. Like, my brain was all over the place. It was crazy.
Wow.
But it got even worse. Because I was doing that in the room and people were the people who were in the room were complaining, they put me out in the patio. And when you're in the desert, it gets very,
You got kicked out by a bunch of homeless people complaining.
Wow.
When you put it that way. Gosh, I've been on this story for 11 minutes. I haven't even gone to the
Sorry, man.
art, but it's okay.
We're enjoying it.
I'm enjoying this.
Very, very
I need some popcorn, man.
Yeah, so they put me out in the patio. So it was, those open screens that, what the patios are, kind of like in Florida or in California.
Well, you mean open screens, like you go out on the patio and it's a screen?
It's a screen.
Patio?
It's a screened patio.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And it was like a concrete floor.
Yeah.
So I had a pillow, a blanket, no access to a bathroom, and I would sleep there for a number of different weeks until I finally just couldn't do it no more. And he brought me into the house and to sleep on the couch because I was getting so thin. I mean, I was like 100 pounds soaking wet.
Whoa.
I mean, I had like a long beard. I mean, I was a mess. An absolute mess, man.
God, he was turning you into one of them.
Yeah.
One of the people that you kicked and mumbled at you.
Crazy, dude. Wow. Just crazy.
That's incredible.
And I just
that's a horror story.
And I'll tell you this, and what was even worse than that is that even going, like, I'd have to sleep in the freezing cold. Like, the desert gets cold, at night. And all I had was one blanket and the clothes. And so I would stack whatever clothes I had, on top of me and so forth. And in the mornings, he would wake us all up very early and make us go work. And he would put me on the roof with my cast on to go do shingling, rip off shingling, to kind of redo his roof.
Is that even possible?
It was.
I mean, he was on the roof.
I didn't do a very good job, but I had to do what I had to do because he was feeding me and giving me a place to sleep.
Yeah.
And I did it. One time, this is the last story I'll tell you in regards to this. There's so much there. I mean, I could just spend I can spend easily an hour just in this place.
Yeah.
One time, I was told to go get groceries, and with crutches to go, and it was like probably a good mile-ish.
You had to walk?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And I remember coming back with groceries, and there was these kids who kind of came out and they saw me because we were not in the best part of town. And I remember them kicking me over, and I had all these shopping bags, and I'm like hobbling and all that, and stuff goes all over the place. I go on the floor, and they're trying to rob me, and I was asking them, "Kill me, kill me."
Oh my God!
I'm like, "Please kill me." And they looked at me and they got so freaked out that the fact that I was so like I want to die right now, just kill me, that they fled. And they didn't kill me.
You sound disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not now, but at that point,
in retrospect, it's all good.
It's all good, yeah.
At the time.
But that would be the last story. I'll spend my time there. And then eventually what ended up happening about 2 months later, these people came back, Tiffany and Daryl, they come back and they're like, "Hey, we got everything set up for La Brea, the La Brea Apartments. We're so sorry. We're so apologetic about everything, blah, blah, blah," and all this kind of stuff.
They sound like the worst kind of narcissist.
And so we end up going back, and the long, the short of it is they disappeared. They went and they were going to come back with keys. They never came back with keys, and I was there by myself, and I ended up becoming homeless on the streets of LA for a little while.
Wow.
And with that cast on still, and there was a point where I just, you get itchy when you're in the cast. I was little by little breaking the cast open, like, with everything I could, with, sharp knives, whatever. Just, eventually I ended up breaking, and I kind of took a shirt and I tied it around my knee really tightly so it could just keep everything kind of like in place.
Yeah.
And so forth. And that season of my life was crazy because I got to see the perspective of how it is to live homeless and how many people pass by every single day and don't care about you.
Yeah.
And which is why I have such a heart for those that I see out on the streets, because I'm like, oh man, it's not easy. And I remember like eating wise, like I would be begging for money and for food and whatnot, and you would only make so much, and I would go into 7-Eleven, get a cup of noodles, and put some hot water in there, and just eat like once a week, once or twice a week, and all that. Finally, what ended up happening was there was this individual. He was like an angel, another blessing. He was a second blessing. He more or less kind of discovered me or found me, and he looked. I was young, and I'm a kid, and he's like, "What's going on? What's your story?" Right? And I tell him everything. I told him why I was there, blah 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 blah, and he just took a heart for me, and he's like, "Let me, why don't you stay at my place? He got me some food and all that." And he's like, "Have you spoken to your parents?" I'm like, "No." And my parents were freaking out because they have not heard from me.
This is before everyone had a cell phone.
Yeah. Oh no, there was cell phones. It was
it's not like everyone had one.
Yeah, correct. And so I get in contact with my parents, and I just remember my dad, man, my mom. Oh gosh, I just thinking about it makes me like super emotional. But my dad was on the next flight to LA from New York that following day, and I remember being at LAX waiting for my dad because this guy Randy takes me there. My dad walks right by me. He didn't even recognize
you. Wow.
And whoa, man, that just really like. And when he saw me, he's like, "Buddy," and he like took me and gave me like the biggest hug. And he's like, "Come on, let's go get a steak," And we stayed at the Marriott by the LAX over there, and we ate. And I told him a story, and he's like, "Don't tell your mother." That's why I hope my mom never. She would just absolutely. That's why I've never really told my story. This is the first time I'm actually really going pretty explicit with my details. Just I feel like it's time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's time. But I didn't want to break the heart of my mother. Right. Like, and she was already like a mess because she's like, "Where did he go? We haven't heard from him," and all that kind of stuff. So. So anyway, so that was the beginning. That's my welcome to California. That's the first chapter.
Okay.
Wow.
Act 1 is done.
Act 1.
Act 1.
Let's move it into Act 2.
All right.
Are you still in LA at this point?
So I'm in LA now.
Okay.
At this point, I'm working a lot of odd end jobs. I'm trying to just make ends meet. I go back to New York, so I'm going through like some rehab, getting kind of like my weight back on. I'm trying to get myself really good. But there's a thing with me. Once I put my mind onto something,
you want to accomplish it.
I want to accomplish it.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to stop me. And I was like, man, I was going to LA and I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And I tell my parents, I'm like, "Mom, Dad, I know you're not going to like this, but I got to go back to California." They're like, "No, you're not." I was like, "No, I really do." And I fought I was like, I'm going whether you like it or not. I got to go. I've got a contact now. Because this guy, Randy, he actually was like a manager of talent.
The guy who brought you in?
Who brought me in. Yeah, he was like a manager of sorts. And so I had a connection.
Yeah.
And
so the objective was to get in the business, be an actor.
No, the objective was to get into music first.
Oh, music.
Yeah. I was trying to pursue a music
20
career.
times harder than doing acting.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And so my parents, God bless their souls, man. They were like, "All right, but there's going to be conditions and rules. Like, and this is it." And they're like, "We need to know everything that's going on at every single point that you're out there, blah, 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 blah." Because they knew that I was going to go. It was either they're going to be with me in the journey or I was just going to leave.
Yeah.
And
Curfew is 9 o'clock.
right,
man.
exactly. You report every single night at 8 p.m.
Did they do that? Did they make you do that? Oh, okay. That'd be cool if they did.
Yeah, no, but I stepped in constant I stayed in constant contact with them. So go back to LA, connect with Randy, and the long and the short of it was just working a lot of end jobs. It kind of he let me stay at his place for a little bit until I was able to get my own place and save enough money and do all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was doing a lot of odd end jobs, waitering, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And then he tells me, he's like, "Hey, Carl, listen, have you ever thought about acting?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "Well, I know of the show. It's called Scatter and Save. They're looking to cast a role for like a 16-year-old kid in high school." And I'm like, I'm 20 at that point. And I was like,
you could pull it off.
Not real. I'm like,
really?
20 and 16. I mean, that's such a gap.
Well, just so you know, whenever one of the most successful TV shows out there is what, Smallville, 10 seasons. Mm-hmm. One of the best prequel type stories told of Superman. Tom Welling, who played Clark Kent, he was 26 playing a 15-year-old.
No kidding.
That's serious. I did not know that. Like when he first started that show, he was 26.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yep.
Well, that was like kind of a eye-opener for me. I was like, all right, this is Hollywood, right? This is Hollywood. I went into the audition. I got the role, which was cool. Oh no. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. But does it pay? And he goes, well, if you get the part, you pay. I'm like, all right, I'm in. So I go into the audition. I get the audition. And I do it. And this was my first time. Like, I never thought about I enjoyed watching movies as a kid. Sure. And I acted it out. Like, I pretended I was like the lead actor and did all this stuff. And I love that. But I never thought of it as a business or something that I could pursue and do. Now I'm on this set and I'm watching all these people moving around, doing different things, lights and cameras and blah. And it's just like, it's like this beautiful dance. And I'm just watching. I'm like, wow, what do all these people do? And I was just completely in awe. I was hypnotized. And immediately in my head, I was like, I could do that. Mm-hmm. Right?
The acting bug just bit you.
Yeah. And then, so after that, I asked Randy, I was like, hey, if there's anything else that comes across, I'm in. He's like, yeah, but it doesn't really quite work like that. That was just by chance, but let's get your headshots. Let's, get you in and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And so I decided during that time, between my next gig, I didn't want to work like these odd end jobs anymore. I wanted to kind of just learn the business. So I was like, get me into, I'll be a coffee runner. I'll be an intern. I will scrub the toilets. I don't care. I just want to be on set. And I was surprised how difficult, and I'll work for free. Yeah. But how difficult it was to get on production out in California. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, he had a friend named James Quattrochi, who is a director, producer, writer. And he's from New York. So we had the New York thing. He's Italian. So we had the Italian-New York thing going on. And so I got an opportunity to work on set. And, as an assistant property master, I would be like, just all the different roles, right?
Sure.
And poof, man, that's a story and a half right there. Just kind of in the beginning of that, because you're kind of like the low man on the totem pole. No one really cares about you, and Hollywood is like ego and like that stuff.
All the way up there,
at the highest level.
Second class citizen,
not even, man. Like
slave,
worse. And but it was, it was a learning curve for me, and I learned a lot, and I got to kind of understand every role and dynamic of production, because I knew one day I wanted to own my own company. And so I wanted to learn what everyone did, so this way I can understand what it is that I needed them to do later on. And so I did that for a while, but one of the best jobs, and then I'll get into, this is now moving into the testimony, is that I got to work as a fundraiser back in like the old telemarketing days, right?
Sure.
And so I worked for this company. I'm not going to mention any names here, but I worked for this company that was doing a new movie. It was a Sony picture. I'll say that. It wasn't, the company I worked for was not Sony, but they were fundraising for Sony on a big project. It was, I think, a $2.8 million project. And so I did a lot of telemarketing in when I was younger, for like construction and things like that. And so I just had a natural instinct and natural ability to just like call people and just create rapport with them and conversate. And so they would give me the pitch, and basically the whole thing was like we were selling units of $20,000, and we were just calling accredited investors throughout the United States. And And so I just remember I have to tell the story because that was so knowledgeable for me, especially now, because now I know the language. I know what investors want, and I've learned that. But I remember it was the first time I had called, and I'm bringing it up because I'm in Texas. I had called this individual, and he had a sushi bar in Texas, right? And I'm on the phone with them, and I'm talking. We're going back and forth, and yada, yada, yada. And then he's like, sounds interesting. He goes, I'll buy 10 units. I was like,
wait, 10 units at $20,000.
That's $200,000. That's your
$200,000.
quota.
Yes. And like you said to me in the car before, like the outside you were freaking out, and then but the outside was like, yeah, okay,
yeah,
10 units, that's no problem. We could absolutely do that. We'll go ahead and fax you over, right? the memorandum, because it was a PPM, right, and all this kind of stuff. I had to go out and all that stuff, and I was like, I can't even. Is this even real? Is this even real? And I just remember they FedExed the check over, and it was like, it was a real thing, and it went in, and I made my percentage, and I was the most.
What was your percentage?
Gosh, well, I think it was like 12%.
That's
something.
high,
yeah,
dude.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Of the 200,000?
Of the 200,000.
That's $24,000.
Yeah, and then I ended up raising for that company probably close to $1 million, in the time that I was working there, and I learned so much, and that was the most valuable job, I guess, that I had, because I still use it to this day.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so now fast forward, then I started doing a couple little small indies, and then I get the phone call. And this is where the testimony starts, like my spiritual testimony. Up to this point,
atheist.
Still atheist.
Yeah.
Hate Christ, and I am a nut job.
20, 21, 22?
Yeah, around 21. Around 21.
Okay.
And I'm like 20 going into 21, somewhere in there. And I am off the wall kind of crazy, because now I'm starting to make some money. I made some money off of this stuff. And, California has a way of like kind of just pushing you to do some of the stuff that you shouldn't do. And you get into
takes money to do.
Yeah. And, so I'm doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And, and I'm doing all the things. And
I don't understand.
Shut up, Nick.
But needless to say, I was enjoying it quite much. And I get a phone call from Vivek Singhania, which is a producer out of India. And he calls me, and he's
couldn't tell by the name at all.
No.
Yeah.
And he goes, Card, we've got the movie that we want to go ahead and do, and we want you to go and play the lead acting role. And I was like,
that was a good impression.
I was like, excuse me?
Good impression.
And he's like, yeah. And so the long and the short, he's like, we got a project. It's a Hollywood meets Bollywood kind of product. It's a project. It's called Karma, Crime, Passion, Reincarnation.
Yeah.
We will fly you out to India for the period of time, and we'll put you up in a hotel, and you'll get paid, and you'll be our lead actor.
Is this what I saw the trailer for
a
couple times?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went from pauper to suddenly like, whoa. I was like, this is crazy, because they put me on like a first class, like, and going to India is like a long trip.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
And then I get there, and they put me up in this fancy schmancy hotel, and like as soon as I land in Mumbai, right, Bombay, I go to one of the producers' house, and he's got like help for people taking off my shoes, someone to go and give me a wet towel, someone to give me a new fresh shirt, someone to take off my belt, someone like to like I don't know what they were doing. They were putting some oil on my arms. Like there was just people for everything, and I was like, what is this? This is crazy, right? And Mumbai is a wild town. I mean, it made New York look like Kansas, right? It's just like it's or Kentucky.
That sounded like a jab.
Yeah. But not at all. So anyway, while I'm out there, and so we go to this place, we fly from Mumbai all the way down to Uti, which is southeast of India, and that's where all the rainforests are, and all the palaces are, and all the tea estates are. Beautiful area. You had to kind of take a flight there, then a private flight to like a little airport near Uti, and then you had to get into like one of these truck things, whatever, and go up the mountain for like 2.5 hours to get to this place. And we were there, and it was amazing. And I got to stay in a palace. Like that was crazy to me.
Pankot Palace.
It was so, and it was like in the tea, the tea estates, like. I just massive, just gorgeous. I have tons of pictures. You know, I look at it from time to time. I'm like, man, I can't believe I was there. That was crazy. So I do the movie. And everything goes well, blah, 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 blah. But every morning, so this is where spirituality starts kind of coming up into my life. Every morning, like clockwork, at like 4 a.m., I would hear this chanting going on. And outside the window of my hotel, and I had a balcony. So I would open and I would go out into the balcony and I would watch. And the village was like down, like all the way down. But I would see these pillars of smoke just all throughout the town, and people just chanting and saying things. And they called me Curious Carl for a reason all growing up, because I always wanted to know everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I decided that on my days off, I would go down into the village and see what's going on, what's all this about. Along the way, I had met with a bunch of different people and yogis and different masters and stuff, and they started teaching me meditation. They started teaching me kind of like the Hindu, religion and all that, and take me to the temple and, you know, worship the various deities, and I was falling in love with it. I fell in love with the meditation aspect of it too, because I was seeing things that they were doing that was like mind bending. I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting stuff. You know, like the levels of meditation and the levels like that they were able to tap into, and just really, really cool things. So after the movie wrapped, I decided to stay in India for almost 8 months or so.
Wow.
You know, afterwards to just be Hindu basically, and learn and travel and do all this kind of stuff. And I got a chance to really learn, and it was amazing. It was amazing. You know, it was my first kind of taste of spirituality, because in the Western world we do not understand meditation. We do not understand spirituality whatsoever, right? But out there, like it's serious business. So I was out there. I came back to LA because obviously I'm not going to live out there. I came back to LA, and my career kind of started picking up a little bit at that point. You know, I started doing some more projects and doing some more things, and then I was, you know, I had this mentality that I wanted to open up my own company and so forth, and I was still kind of practicing Hinduism, but what ended up happening with me is that I kind of dealt with a lot of demons, you know, as we all do, right? People, you know, we are fallen creatures, and you know, we have our things. Man, did I have my things, and I have a list full. So I'm not going to go through them all, but I dealt with some really bad stuff, and with money and with a little bit of fame, that exaggerated, that amplified on a whole nother level. And I got whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, from whoever I wanted. And it was just a life of triple X's. It was crazy. And my drug abuse went through the roof. Like, I was doing everything, partying super hard. I mean, to the points where I would wake up underneath a car and not even know how I got there. Like, just that level of like of separation. So, and it continued on, and I dealt with some really like crazy dark stuff. So I was trying to find peace in my life, because you figured you'd have some money, you figured you have some, you know, a little bit of fame, you figured you have all these things that people work towards, right? And I'm still here super depressed, super unhappy, like just no joy, nothing fulfilling my heart. And so I was like, well, there's a lot of isms in the world. I'm going to go study them all and find out which one is the right one, because I'm looking for peace. And so I embarked on a spiritual journey that lasted roughly about 13 years of getting Christianity. I know that was false. Catholicism, man, no, none of that. Jesus, no. So I was like, at least I got that one out of the way, right? So I started learning a lot of the Eastern practices like Taoism, and, you know, I even got into the mystics like the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. I got into the Quran. I started learning all about that. I really was exploring, and I spent time with each one. You know, because I was really looking for like something to. I knew spirituality existed because of my experience back in India, right? I was just trying to find, but that, like, I hit my ceiling, and I felt like there was more. I felt it in my heart that there was more. So I was like seeking and actively going. And so where I ended up landing ultimately, where I found like my place, was in shamanism. Do you guys know what shamanism is?
I've heard, but I don't know any details.
I know what it looks like, but I don't know what it means.
So basically they say that they're the original spiritual people, right? And you know, if you think of like the shamans that are in the Amazon, you know, they live in the jungle, or the Aborigines over in
I think I've heard it through like
Australia.
just a grapevine of like movies and whatnot.
Yeah. So they, you know, they do drum circles, they do peyote, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I got connected with an individual in North California, and he was a shaman, and the concept, the understanding, the spirituality is what really intrigued me. I was like, oh, and the drugs. It was also.
I'm about to say, it had a lot to do with drugs.
I mean, I was on psilocybin, dimethyltryptamine, DMTs, ayahuasca, like all the time.
I have no idea what you're.
Yeah, I have never heard of those.
No,
never.
Do your research.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. There's a couple of people who
trust you.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are listening to this. It's very powerful. It's probably the most powerful thing that you could take. It's actually in all living beings. We all have. It's in our pineal gland, right? So our pineal gland has half melatonin and half dimethyltryptamine, and basically it leaks into your system on the day that you're born and the day that you die, right? Which gives you that hallucinogenic type of feel, at that really euphoric feeling when you die, and all that stuff that people experience, like that journey. And sometimes it secretes when you're sleeping, and that's what lucid dreaming is, and so forth. So, and it's in every living thing. And there's actually parts in the world where they're trying to take away like natural plants and put artificial plants, because you can actually extract the DMT from certain plants and so forth. But anyway, so I'm doing all of this, and this stuff brings you. It's like mushrooms is like level 1, right?
Wow.
Compared to what, like an ayahuasca trip or a dimethyltryptamine, which is basically the same thing, but they're variants of it on a molecular level. But you get launched into the spiritual realms. Like you get so incredibly launched in there. And the things that I would see was wow. And the perspectives that was open, and the things that opened up in my mind, the neurons, everything, the synapses, everything in my brain just started working differently from what I was visualizing and seeing through these moments, right? Very powerful. And we would do these drum circles and do all this kind of stuff, and I would be out there, and I was, you know, doing this for roughly about 7 months, you know, just living, you know, as a shaman, essentially. And then finally, what ended up happening was, you know, I would get called in. I would try to keep my phone away, right?
Yeah.
As I still do nowadays.
Yeah. You carried that over into your life.
How we doing on time?
We're good. Keep going.
All right. So now, I would get called to go do a film. I would leave, go do the film, and I just hated going back into civilization. It was like, to me, it's like, I didn't believe in God, but I said, you know, if God existed, like if God would tweak a few people, life would be good, right? Never realizing the problem was really just me, you know?
Right.
And so I, you know, after a while, I was like, I think at that point I was 26-ish. Yeah, 26, 20, going into 27. And I was like, okay, I was having some success. And I'm like, all right, well, here we go. I'm not going to be living in the woods the rest of my life, you know, so I got to kind of figure out how I can bring this out into the world and just kind of do that thing. And I went back to California. In that process, I don't know. There's so much to tell. There's so many highlights.
I know.
Like the time when I went up to, like the time when I went up to Covelo, and I got the DEA came down, and I got arrested and went to prison. Did I? Like, there's that story.
I've never heard that.
No.
Story.
Do you want to hear it real quick?
Yeah. It's just
all right. I'll condense it. Okay, 2 minutes. Basically, we finished shooting a movie. It was around my birthday. Friend tells me, "Hey, Carl, why don't we go up to Covelo? I've got a friend who owns a farm up there in the mountains, and we can go party and just like." Camp. I was like, ooh, camping sounds fun. He missed out a small little detail, right? But it's okay. He's like, I got a surprise for you. This was, so we drive up to Covelo, which is north of San Francisco, and we go up these mountains and go into this farm. I'm like, ooh, it smells like marijuana.
Marijuana farm.
Yeah. I'm like, and this is before things are legal, right? This is like medicinal. Things are just going medicinal. And he's like, I was like, dude, he's like, don't worry about it. It's medicinal. I was like, okay, great. Let's go have fun. Yeah. You know, and like these things where the trees were like massive and wide and all this stuff. It was like, you know, it's like being a kid in a toy store for me, because you know, I enjoyed that stuff back then very much. And so we're there for, I think we were going to stay for like about 2 weeks. And I think it was maybe the 6 days in is we partied hard. And when I party, like I party hard.
Hard, yeah.
I don't know if I can say all of it, but I took every drug that you can imagine in one sitting.
Wow.
I mean, from to like acid, to LSD, to Molly.
How are you
to,
still alive?
That's my question.
Gosh.
I should be dead many times, but yet I'm here.
It
You know?
sounds like what is it? The Las Vegas? Not leaving Las Vegas.
Oh, loathing,
Fear and
loathing,
Yeah,
very similar to that kind of to that kind of.
Yeah, well, they were doing
hallucinogenic-
adrenal gland stuff, which kind of reminds me of the whole, what'd you call it?
ayahuasca, DMT,
Ayahuasca.
dimethyltryptamine, all that.
Yeah.
And so okay, so I've got 1 minute left, and well, actually, I got to take that. That's 20 seconds because you
did.
All right,
Yeah.
sorry, I get 20
Have your
seconds
time
back on the clock. So that night, I get annihilated, right? And so they decide to have a brilliant idea. They're like, hey, listen, there's a place that we can hike up to, right? That overlooks the whole entire, like, just it's beautiful. You
I don't see
all
this
the
going
stars.
well.
But the only thing, so we start going like, yeah, let's go. You know, we start going, and my buddy, who is the one who brought me up, he has this German Shepherd that he's bringing with him, and he's like sniffing the trail for us and all that, and it's complete pitch black. You can't see anything, and we're like on a mountain, so you step off the wrong way, whoop, down you go. Okay. So we're going, and they're like, okay. Then the guy who's kind of leading us, oh, everyone, quiet. We're like, what? We're about to pass a meth lab.
Oh my gosh.
If he hears us, he will open fire and shoot us. Now try hearing that when you're high, higher than high.
Right.
That sounds like fun. And so we decide. But there's two ways to go.
Yeah.
We can go around, which is the long way, or we can cut at the bottom of his farm quietly so that we can get to the spot quicker. Guess what? Guess
went
which
through the
one?
farm.
Of course, right?
Of course you did, because that would make the story awesome.
Yeah, it would make the story
That's
awesome.
exactly what you did.
Yeah, and so all right, 30 seconds. So we get through.
It's like 4 minutes later.
Guy came. I'm watching the clock right there.
Oh, okay.
So we get through. The guy did come out, but he did not open fire, thank God. But he was yelling, and we were all freaked out, and we started running. We got to this place. Guess what? We did dimethyltryptamine while we were up there, so that was kind of crazy. We were there for a whole bunch of hours. Even though it only lasts for about 20 minutes, right? The actual like trip itself feels like you die, right? Like you literally die, and then you come back, and it's like there's this cosmological fabric of existence that just permeates every aspect of reality, right? It's wild.
That sounds like a real blast, Carl.
It was a blast. It was a rocket launch for sure. So we get back. I end up falling asleep somewhere along the trail on the floor. I don't know what time it was, but it was bright early in the morning. One of my friends comes over and he's shaking. This is a common story, shaking me to wake me up. And I'm like, what? And he's like, dude, get yourself. We got to get out of here. Look. And I'm hearing.
Oh, this is where the DEA comes in.
Yeah. And I look up and I see this black helicopter. I don't see the DEA. I'm like, what's going on? It's like, I don't know. I think we're getting it's getting raided. The mountain's getting raided. We got to leave. Get in the car. Grab your stuff. And I was like, and I'm blitzed out of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like still feeling it. I'm like, I'm not over what I went through. That it's just been a few hours. Go to the tent, grab my stuff. We get into his truck. We start going down the mountain. Sure enough, this white unmarked Suburban comes out. These soldiers come out with their, with what do they have, like an AK?
Assault rifles.
Assault rifles comes out.
They're ARs.
ARs, thank you. And they come out and they, and I'm like, they're like, get out of the truck. And I'm like, oh, is this a joke?
You guys are kidding, right? Yeah, like I'm still high.
And sure enough, they threw us on the floor. They put their foot on us, and they're searching the car and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And then they're like, all right, we're going back up to. It was called Chicken Ridge. That's what it was called. So we go back up to the ridge and we go up there, and there was already DEA already landed on the actual farm, and all I saw was people handcuffed right next to each other like this, side by side. And then it was the three of us who were in that truck. We go in, they handcuff us, they put us next to this thing, and now it was hot that day.
Sure.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. And I haven't drank anything, no water or anything, right? And so we're handcuffed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? This is absolutely crazy. So so they were interviewing each person one by one to kind of find out why you're here. This is who we're looking for. Do you know who he is? Right? And so they finally get to me, And you know, I give some detail because I'm like, I'm here camping. I had no idea this was even happening. You know, like, and I'm telling him all this stuff, blah 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 blah, and whatnot. Go back into the line. They're finishing up the rest of the people, and you can't even make this stuff up. Another helicopter comes down. National Geographic. And these cameras come out. And I'm like, are you absolutely kidding me right now? And I'm like, and I start yelling. I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, if my face is on this thing, because I'm in this industry, blah, 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 blah. Well, you can watch the show on Netflix, right? And you'll see a guy, right, with this cross here, with a black tank top, San Francisco 49ers shorts, and a Yankee cap with a blurred face.
What's it called?
Are you serious?
It's part of their series of rating the rating. I forgot the name of the show,
but it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
It's like Cops on steroids.
Yeah, it's National
basically.
Geographic's Rating the Mountain or something like that.
Okay, all right, I'll
check
look
it out.
Yeah.
And
you'll
they
see me
actually
right there.
blurred you out.
Yeah, I'm blurred out. But
So you have to look for the tattoo.
If you know me, you know me, right? You'll see the tattoo.
That's awesome.
And so anyway, I had to share that story because it's such a
great.
So I get arrested. Last piece of it. So the guy who owned it was from New York, from upstate. Well, guess who still has a New York license?
You.
Carl.
Yeah.
And guess what? He doesn't live in upstate. He lives in downstate, in the city. But you know what? New York, you're from New York. We could only take half of you. So since you're from New York, you're getting arrested.
Wow.
And I end up getting arrested, and I'll tell you, I'll save that for another time.
Okay, all right.
But that was wild.
I bet it was.
I was in a cell with a bunch of meth addicts who did not have access to meth.
Oh, no.
So you could only imagine what happened in there. But let's continue on.
Wow.
So let's continue the journey of exploration.
Series of Carl's life could last like 5 episodes.
Can I interject for
Sure.
a quick second?
Yeah, of course.
While you made it out alive, I just want everybody to don't do drugs.
Like,
There.
this is not an
get that.
example for you to try anything. This is an example for you to take Carl's testimony and just not do it.
Yes, I lived.
Public
I did it for you.
Yeah, he did.
I did it for everyone.
He did it all.
Yeah, I
he
did it all
of
for everyone.
So,
Yeah, because you really lose any sense of reality and just judgment. All right, you just do stupid things all the time, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's just terrible. So anyway, so at that point, I get back into some sort of normality. I open up the first company, and which is surprising that I even have a company that's up and running, because I'm a wild man at that point. Yeah. But we're doing some things, and we're making some movies, and we're actually having a little bit of success, and things are moving forward, and all this jazz, and I'm getting this, now we're in like the third act, just FYI.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So
that's
just
second act is ended. Now we're entering the third act, and
Okay.
sounds like Luciferian's coming up.
It's coming up really soon.
Yeah.
So then at that point, doing the movie thing, doing the business thing, spiritually speaking, I'm kind of getting out of the shamanism. I still kind of do the drum circling and do all of those things, right? Like the peyote and ayahuasca and all that stuff, and psilocybin, and then but I start kind of going into finding out more about Buddhism and New Ageism, and kind of like a combination of the two. So I would go to the Buddhist temple, and I just loved it because it was like a lot of peace, like when you're meditating in there, right? And and it's to this day I still meditate. I mean, I could easily meditate 8 hours if I wanted to. Sometimes I don't want to come out of the meditation because it's just like I'm in a place of such peace and oneness, right? And I was just it's beautiful. So I would just go, and that would be like my reset, so to speak. And then the New Age stuff, like I was getting into like the chakras, the Kundalini, just astral projection, understanding how to leave the body, and all these different things that it is, and the crystals and blah 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 and all that stuff. And I was doing it with some individual, and that's when. Oh, actually, before that so there's always two parallels in the stories. There's like the carnal realm that's going on, and then the spiritual realm that's going on, right? So in the carnal realm at that point, like we are about to close a ton of money for our production company. And here's an idiot who doesn't know the first thing of doing anything. So he's like, I shouldn't have all that kind of money. So let me bring somebody else into the company who's going to be able to handle the money because I am an idiot, right? I just want to create. I don't want nothing to do with the business side of things. And so this guy comes in, and the long and the short of it is... it's the first time I'm bringing this all up on something like this, but long and the short of it is the individual decided, him and this other person decided to, and I still don't know the dynamics. I don't know the details, but basically all the money went missing.
Wow.
It was gone.
He took it and ran.
Yeah. And I've heard stories about one of them leaving the country with it. One of the individuals allegedly one of the individuals some really bad things happened, and I don't want to get into that right now, but it blew up in my face big time. And it was hell to go through. Like I had to go through litigation for 4.5 years. And that was expensive. And I went in massive amounts of debt. I mean, I was in massive amounts of debt. And it was, at that point, I'm like, 28 years old, 27, 28, somewhere in there. And that's tough to go through at that age, to kind of go with something so heavy. I lose everything. And the thing that hurt the most was like the people who supposedly were my friends suddenly left the moment that, they wouldn't trust any word that I would say, right? It just, everything just started shutting down. I was by myself. And then I became, if I wasn't a maniac before, like drugs wise, I was trying to kill myself. So I amped it up. I was like it was my escape from reality. And so I would do some dumb stuff, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Let's now flip into the spiritual side of things. Now kind of like in the new age thing. And I come and I meet this individual, and this individual comes over to me and he goes, you have a little bit more than what meets the eye, like a power that's inside of you. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And he's like, have you ever thought about having power that you can actually take care of people? And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, have you ever... And so basically, because I can continue on, the guy was quite a character, like he was just, and I promise that's how he talked. He was just like, how would you like if I taught you something that might bring you to a place that you would never have known existed? Like, that's the way he spoke.
That's why Carl's a good director. Just saying. Yeah. Go ahead.
He gets in character.
He does. He knows how to get in character.
The method director.
Yeah. Method director.
The other day.
And I was like, yeah, what's it all about? He goes, have you ever looked into getting back to someone, perhaps some revenge? And sure enough, I'm going through one of the darkest times of my life, right? And all I want to do is get revenge, right? Again, no God in my life, right?
Yeah.
Zero. I hate Jesus. Hate. I just want to reinforce because I love him so much right now that I can't, but at that point, like hated. And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. Let's go. I'm all in. And he's like, good. And he didn't say that. Now I'm just acting, but this
is your add-on.
This is my add-on.
I'm seeing a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Like a long nose.
But what's that?
Boris and Natasha. I'm thinking of Boris. Okay, no.
Boris and Natasha.
Yeah, from Rocky. Never mind.
I'm thinking,
Yes.
was it Pinocchio and the kid, the guy that was saying we take all the kids or whatever, and he was really,
Let's
really
go to
menacing.
Paradise Land.
No, the other guy that he was talking to. There's a scene in there where it was eerie whenever all the Epstein stuff was coming out, and they played this scene.
That dark figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who it's reminding me of whenever you're acting him out. I was like, oh my gosh.
I'm seeing Mr. What's his name from The Simpsons.
So, there's a place that they get all that from because it exists.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the reality. It's like everything we see in movies, everything we come up with is because there is an actuality. There is a truth to it, right? And I think as the longer you stay in that and the more spiritually open you are, you start seeing that and start understanding it more and all that. So anyway, the long and the short of it was this was Luciferianism. This was like the... do you guys know what Luciferianism is? Like
give
ultimately?
a short 20-second explanation.
So basically, you become a god upon your own. The same way that Satan was Lucifer and he wanted to become God, right? It's the same way that you can become God in this world and have great power over everyone and everything. So you basically get Lucifer, which is, to be illuminated, right? And to a place where you can become God in this world and have great power. And I started learning all about it. Like they started teaching me. And because I already had that background with like astral projection and kind of like outer body experiences and doing all the things that I did, that world is very, very just real to me. It's not like something, it's like, it just is, right? Yeah. I know a lot of people will hear this and think I'm absolutely crazy, and it's okay. We all have a journey, right? But it's real. It's real. Yeah. It's why I am who I am today, because I know how real it is, right? And I don't mess around when it comes to that. And so I get into this, and they start teaching us all, I mean, how they place curses on people. And that's the thing that really got me, was really, and to this day, it's just like there's a hierarchy. There is a kingdom, because the devil doesn't come up with anything new. He just copies what God does and perverts it. Mm-hmm. It's the inversion of everything of the light kingdom.
Yeah.
And so, you bless an item, right? He curses an item. He didn't come up with that idea. He stole that idea, right? All the different things. And I mean, I could go deep into all that kind of stuff. But so essentially, and they would, and this hierarchy, and there's denominations within that kingdom as well, because you've got your witches, you've got your warlocks, your druids. I mean, you've got the whole gamut, right? And everyone has a different assignment. Everyone has a different place and a different territory that they're ultimately covering. Wow. And the whole job is to destroy wherever, whatever territory, whatever it is. And they always target usually Christians.
Right.
Right.
That's their biggest threat.
That's the biggest threat. And churches.
Yeah.
Right. Cities that are doing well. Right. And to bring darkness into it and break, to allow for underground stuff to enter in and a lot of stuff. So they'll curse a place. And then there is also there's different levels of the hierarchy as well, right? Where there's it's a big kingdom, and it's everywhere, and it's with people you would never even think would be in it. They're walking nearby you every single day, and you have no idea what they do, and their discipline is unbelievable. They are like clockwork with their spells, with their prayers, with their curses, with their things that they do. They do not lose a day. They don't complain about doing it. They have a very healthy fear of Satan.
Wow.
And they do not do anything that goes outside of what he wants. Wow. And so when I got into Christianity, and I was like, oh my gosh, people can't even pray for a minute, and they're already like, oh. I'm like, oh, we got a lot of work to do. And I know what we're up against. Like, this is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was essentially, thank God that I didn't get too deep into it. I was still very much in the beginning, right? Like getting in, I was leaving, and I was learning, I was watching and all this stuff. But this is where, where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, where everything just shifted. I'm going through litigation. I'm a Luciferian. And at that time, I was very suicidal as well. I could not stand my life. I mean, I lost everything. I didn't have anything. And then I met this woman, this girl, who's now my wife, who I love so dearly. And she was like this little light in my life that kind of came into my life that kept me alive, right?
Yeah.
And she was so good, so sweet, and so beautiful. And but she was a Christian, non-denominational Christian. And here I am, Luciferian. I'm not going to tell her I'm that. I told her I was New Age.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
That was the mask that I was wearing. Right.
Yeah.
And she,
it's all demonic, by the way.
It's all demonic. And I can get into a whole, the whole gamut of that. And I know we don't have much time, but I love spirituality, and I can break that all down and how it all works and all that for another time.
Part three.
Part three. But basically what ended up occurring is that I was very convincing that Christianity was like, I hate it. I was like, oh, but she's so pretty. Right. But I was convincing her, and she was coming out of Christianity. She's like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't, this is it was very convincing. And I was doing that. I was getting so many people out of the church. Oh my gosh. I was convincing people like, what are you doing wasting your time? This is just archaic. Like this whole entire mentality, it's a scapegoat. I mean, I just went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's funny, on her side, I just got to say this bit, is she prayed for two things before she met me. She's like, God, I want to meet the man that I'm going to marry. I want him to be a man of God, and I don't want him to work in Hollywood.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. And she tried running away.
Mysterious ways, man.
Mysterious ways, man. I'll tell you. And she tried running away a few times, but God would always bring her back, And I was like, but she really was that light in my life, at that time when I was trying to do really crazy things. And so continued on, and then the day happened. I'm now 33 years old, and we were living in New Jersey. I was living in an apartment, and it was a random 2 p.m. afternoon on a Tuesday. And I got into meditation like I always do. I was not on anything. I was not hallucinating. I was not on drugs. I was sober, completely sober.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in the living room, and I was meditating. And I usually, when I do that, I kind of like, there's a way that you can leave this realm, so to speak. And when I did that, I left the realm, but I ended up going to a place that I've never been before. And it was very beautiful. Gosh, I'm sorry.
You're good. Keep going.
So what ended up happening was there was a spirit that was in front of me, and it was Christ, and he was illuminating beautifully. And my spirit man immediately, now my physical body is still in New Jersey, right? But my spirit man was here witnessing, and it was realer than being this. Like, I'll tell you, the spiritual realm is way bigger and more real than anything we can experience in this world. It's crazy. And I just remember going down like this, like on the floor. And I felt so disgusting because I was like right in front of like this purity and holiness. And I just felt icky and yucky and gross and just disgusting, and like I should not be here. And I felt like he put his hand on my shoulder, but he was like, actually the distance almost identical to Keller and I, right, where we're at. And I kind of lifted up, and he was illuminating. I couldn't see like him in form. It was a spirit. Right. But I knew it was Christ. Like it was like an immediate like boom. It just is what it is, because I am what I am. It just you just know the creator of you, right? And then he was speaking to me, not through words, but almost like I hate using this word because it's not the best way to put it, but telepathically, like, you know, it's kind of like, and I just understood. And it was like he was downloading this knowledge into my mind that was, it just like everything made sense, like revelations and wisdoms and understandings were just coming into me. And I don't want to get too, there's a lot of personal stuff that went in there. But I will say this, there was, I don't know if it was because I'm a filmmaker. It probably is. And because God just works that way and he's so beautiful. But he puts up a screen right here. And I'm looking at the screen, and he shows me the day that I was born. And it was like if I was watching from the corner of the room looking down, and I'm seeing what's occurring right there. And there's these things being said that I didn't know was ever said. Yeah. And I was like, huh, okay, all right. Then he takes me all through a journey of life. Like when I got shot, how even then, when I was not a believer, because I had a praying mother, because during this time, angels were there and showed how he protected me even then. And then he just kept showing all these moments in my life and how he was there for me. And then he got to the place where I'm like, where I currently was that moment. And he's like, and since you don't, this is where you are. And it's a path to destruction. And he goes, so since you don't want your life, give it to me and watch what I do with it. And sorry.
You're good, bro. You're good.
And so I come back into my body, and
praise the Lord, brother. Praise the Lord, man. You're good.
Okay. Oh, God is good. I come back into my body, and I open up my eyes, and it's like I can see for the first time. You know, it's like when St. Paul says, like, the veil gets lifted up over your eyes, right? Yeah. That the devil has placed up over it. And I just knew. I just understood. I'm like, oh my God. And what was pretty wild was that, gosh.
You're good, bro.
What ended up happening was I remember I called my wife, Oh, she was my girlfriend at the time. And I was like, babe. She's like, yeah. She's like, I want to get baptized. I want to get married. And I want to have a family.
Man. Praise the Lord, brother.
And then she goes, what? What did you say? I'm like, I love you and I want to get married. I want to go get baptized. And sure enough, like, she's like, what happened? Like, who are you? Like, what are you saying right now? Like, what?
Yeah.
And I tell her my experience, and then sure enough, the following events was going through that journey, of coming to Christ and giving my life completely to him. And what a journey it was. It was so beautiful. And so I get baptized, we get married, and we have our first little girl. One of my beautiful little princesses, Olivia, who I adore so much. And I have this beautiful little family, and now I've got purpose in life and motivation, and all I want to do is just do everything for them.
Yeah.
And through God's mercy and his grace and his wisdom and his love, I lost everything, going through litigation and going through all this kind of stuff. And I don't have a degree. I'm a complete nobody. And so I'm like, God, I got to support this family. What do I do? And at 30, I'm 33 years old. I was trying to find a job. Couldn't find anything. Nobody was hiring. And the only job I can find was to be a pizza delivery boy at the local pizzeria. And boy, can I tell you the humility that I've learned through that process.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from like what I came from to suddenly that. And I mean, I'm, at the totem pole of value of work in this world, like that's one of the lowest, and mind you, I did that as a kid, but as a 33-year-old trying to support your family, it's a different story. And so a lot of, people would do things, say things, and everything in my body was like, Google my name, you don't even know who I am, kind of thing, right? But God was so gracious in allowing me to grow in that, and that level of humility. And finally, I just was going through it, and it was like just these conflicts in my heart. And then finally, I'm a student of the Word, like day and night. Psalms 1. Meditate upon his word day and night on the law of the Lord, right? Morning until night in my earphones, listening, like it was nonstop every single day. And I read in the scriptures, it says, don't do things unto man, but do them unto God. And I was like, all right, God, I'm going to do it. I don't care if this is where I'm at, this is where I'm at. I'm going to become the best pizza delivery boy the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
And I decided to just do that. And I went out and I started knocking on doors, delivering pizzas. And then I'd ask them about their spiritual life. And then I would see people break down. We would lay hands, like, when you lay hands on the sick shall be healed.
That's
right?
And
seeing things just disappear. And people, then some of the tips was like $25, $50, $100. And I started making all this money. Pizza delivery driving.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I love it, man. I love it.
And then God just kept kind of growing me, and then I became a painter and doing painting, and then that was great because I would just do like all the cutting because I have a very steady hand because I'm like actual paper artist.
Yeah.
And so I have a very steady hand, so I don't need tape or anything. I just go perfectly straight. And you're painting for like 8 hours a day, so I'd just be listening to the Word all day, just nonstop all day long. Amazing period of time, and God would just grow me, and then I got into flooring, and I, each time he was just advancing me, and then finally was doing some construction, and that's when I had the opportunity to. I was on Twitter, and I was like sending a bunch of stuff like scriptures and all this kind of stuff, and whatnot, and there was this pastor out of this church up in Michigan, Zion. It was called Zion, and he I guess he read something on Twitter, and he reaches out to me, and he's like, hey, he goes, I'm sitting here on the couch. I don't go on Twitter, but I felt Holy Spirit tell me to go on Twitter, and the first thing I see is your message, and he tells me to get behind you. So I'm going to fly you out to Michigan so you can share your testimony to my congregation. I was like,
oh, God. Oh. That congregation was not ready. It was not ready. I can already tell.
Yeah. And it was in that when I shared my testimonies, I met Cammie and Aaron. It was they were there, and they came up to me, and that's
Aaron G.
No. Oh, Aaron G too, but Cammie, Aaron Loftman, and
yeah. Okay.
And so I go to Michigan, and amazing things, like just, it was like, just Book of Acts kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
going out, laying, just moving in power of Christ. And I would go back to Manhattan and New York City and just kind of go and some crazy stories that I've seen, just crazy, which no time for. I know we're way over our time, and I'm almost done. We're like now towards the tail end of the Void Act. And so I go back to New York, and I'm like, the Lord just says, I want you to move to Michigan. And mind you, we're at that point, we're living in Poughkeepsie, New York. And that, oh gosh, that's such a story. 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
And we're living in the middle of a prison, an institution, and the first satanic church that was ever built in America.
Wow.
And apparently the city that was over here was an underground sex trafficking ring, right? And we were in the middle of that.
Wow.
Okay, and this, I'm not going to say it. That's too far, too crazy, too much. Okay, so let's move on. So the Lord's showing me that, and I'm driving around, and I'm driving on the expressways and stuff, and I'm seeing Michigan Avenue,
So
Troy Boulevard.
he's just poking. He's poking.
yeah, and I'm like, when did that get there? So finally, after being disobedient for about a year, we decided to go ahead and do that. And we just were like, I just started making some money. It's like, don't forget, I have massive, like over $500,000 debt with litigation that I'm paying off.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. And so I don't have a lot of money. But I have enough saved up. And so we decided to go, from New York, we drive to Michigan, and that's a whole nother story. I don't want to cry again, so I'm not going to tell it. But it's a very, very emotional, and it was just showing how God has been with me along the way. So we got to Michigan and started a new life there. This was about 5 years ago, 5.5 to 6 years ago. I started doing real estate.
I remember that. Yeah.
And doing real estate, thinking I was going to become a real estate agent. And during that whole entire time, I'm in the Word, and God's showing me, and and I'm reading, that the end is near when the whole gospel is preached to the whole world. And I'm like, Lord, what can we do to get the gospel preached to the whole world? And immediately, what did I hear in my heart? Get back into film. And I'm like, no. Is there anything else? And I was disobedient for 2 years.
Start a magazine.
Yeah.
No.
And it was like, because one movie can touch the world.
Yeah.
And so I was disobedient for almost 2 years. I hated to this day, people ask me, how do you know when, God wants you to do something? Because you don't want to do it. I don't want to be in this industry. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I love the creative aspect for it, and I love the
camaraderie.
Exactly. Yeah. But I don't like the politics, the agendas, the cutthroat, just the business.
It's a good thing that we can get around that.
Yes, now we can.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, my perspective is like, I want nothing to do with it. I hate it.
Yeah. Well, you were dealing with woke Hollywood too. So,
yeah. And I'm like, and now I'm a Christian, and they all think I'm crazy because I'm now preaching Christ, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, so I was like, all right, God, fine, okay, I'll do it. I'll say yes, but I don't know anybody. I don't know where to go, so you better open up the doors, right? I really didn't want to do it, and sure enough, he started opening the doors.
Of course you did.
And then 3 years ago is when Alliance Studios International was born.
Yeah.
And
we met each other before that, right? Like, we've known each other for about 4 years.
4 years, yeah. So that was 1 year before Alliance became the company, because I was hitching on to our good old pal Mo, and kind of was like, okay, maybe this is the way that we're going, and I started having, it started to pretty doing good because the real estate was actually kind of doing pretty decent for me while I was doing it.
Yeah.
And I got into investments because I understood the financial aspects of things, and I started kind of building my life, in that way. And then suddenly, and not to mention during COVID, even more beyond real estate, actually where I started making money is because I started doing real estate photography and videography. So I had a little company that worked through COVID, and since nobody was working, they were hiring me all the time, and I really did good during those 2 years. It was crazy. And that's how I bought all my equipment, bought all that stuff and everything. And then God's like, I want you to close that, and I want you to get into full-time film.
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy. And well, here we are.
Here we are, dude.
The rest is history.
Well, first, I want to say there's details in that story that I didn't know about, but I've always known you to be, for one, a really good leader. You're a generous leader. You're a strong leader. And man, I wouldn't want to be doing this with anybody else as my superior. I say you're my boss. I know I'm your partner, but like you're the one that I answer to. God's given you that leadership role. You know what I mean? So like, and it's easy to answer to you. You know what I mean? But I want to answer to you. Like I want to answer to someone like you because you're gracious to your employees, but you're also going to speak the truth. And when it comes to just the emotionality that just came out of you, man, that was good. That was powerful.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love you guys.
Just to show like the trip that God has brought you through, and that you would even share a fraction of that with us. That I did not know what we were getting into.
Yeah.
And because I've heard your testimony before, you've told me personally.
Yeah.
But I think there were some details here that you weren't able to share at that time, and so
I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. I just, I've been kind of holding on. It's a fight with the flesh, right? I want to be private. I don't want to be in the limelight. I want to just be a dad, a husband, a good friend, and just do the best that I can in this life. But so it's a battle. But now I recognize God's bringing me that this is what He wants, and I just got to answer and say yes, and just go out and start being just vocal and open about it.
Yeah.
So
man.
Yeah,
love
it.
Love it.
Yeah,
love you too, bro.
I love you, bro.
Yeah, man.
I really do.
And
I'm thankful for this partnership that we've got and what we're doing, and it's the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, we are literally at the beginning of all that God's about to do.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting.
It's very exciting.
Very exciting.
I feel like I'm more a part of a plan now than ever before, especially with creativity, with being creative and having that license to tell stories. And with like-minded people, it's been wild.
Yeah.
It's been a real joy.
We're a bunch of kids back in the sandbox, right?
I keep saying it, man. I keep saying it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to test out some new litmus test questions on you. I don't think it's appropriate now. So we're not going to do that.
We'll do it over a cheeseburger or something.
Yeah, we'll do it over a cheeseburger. And we're not going to go through our sponsors again. Sorry, Scott and Mark. But it's okay. We'll do it on other episodes when we have more political figures on. So, but thank you, Carl.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad that you chose us to, get it out in the public.
It's what I was praying on today.
Man,
fantastic.
Can I just say something? Like, I love hearing the other side because I'm like one of the main admin for Nick's Right podcast, and so I'm one of the guys that sets up all the guests, and I just like I'm a numbers guy, so like I just throw out messages. Hey, you want to come on? Hey, you want to come on? Hey, and like whoever responds, I'm like, okay. So now I get to hear like the other side of it, of like how God is speaking to you, or just basically saying go do this, or allowing you to do this. And
well, it's like Candace yesterday, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like I just remember. Like, oh, she's in DFW. Oh, she went. Yeah. Oh, I loved her. And so it was one of those things. That's how God was putting those thoughts into my mind to reach out to her. Thankfully, she is uber, accessible. And then hearing the other side of that, and so same thing with you. I mean, I'm close with you like a brother. I didn't know you were like that kind of worried about it. You know what I mean? Like, because I know you say that you like to stay private, and I've been screaming at you at the top of my lungs to go public on your freaking social media. But I knew you always had your reasons. I still want to say I told you so, though.
You're right.
I was going to say, how gracious is a God that will come to you in your living room while you're doing some other form of meditation? So I think that that's just a beautiful thing for me to hear, is because I was talking with Nick about people that go door to door and knock, and how gracious is He that He'll come to your front door.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's beautiful.
His mercy is divine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His mercy is so divine, and He's so beautiful, and you can't outrun Him. And that's no matter what evil you can do.
Think they can.
No.
It really is funny that people think they can.
No matter what kind of evil, like He'll be there. And God is good.
Yeah.
Just that's it.
Can I just say this? When it comes to like people who are Luciferian or Satanism or anything else, they're literally choosing the losing side.
Yeah.
Like, and And they know that.
But
I don't understand that. They know that.
But remember this, right? What did Jesus say? The God of this world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that God has pulled a veil over the eyes of every man, woman, and child. That's why we gotta have compassion for every human being.
That is so hard. I agree with you. It's so hard for me because I'm like, it's almost like you're on the football field and this team is up 64-0 and you choose to go to the 0 team right before they lose. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
Unless you're blinded.
Because they're partying and doing drugs.
There's
that, too.
There's the sense. Okay, that's why they're choosing the wrong side. Gotcha. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carl,
Thank
thanks.
you, Nick.
Yeah, man.
Awesome
We're going to miss you
Thank
whenever
you.
you go, but you can always just move
I'm
to
actually
Texas.
upset. I'm really sad to leave. Like this has been such an amazing 4 years.
4 years.
Woo, that's a
4 days.
Slip
Yeah.
right
Freudian,
there.
it's a Floridian.
Floridian slip.
Floridian. I messed up and said Floridian instead of Freudian. Is that what it is?
Freudian.
Freudian. Freudian.
Yeah.
And I said Floridian one time.
Floridian.
So just give you guys some background on that. Anyway, thank you guys. We're going to pray and then we're going to get out of here and go get some grub. Lord Jesus, thank you for this time. Thank you for the ability to hear how you have worked in Carl's life and just the fantasticalness of how you would do it, because you will go to every length to get a hold of your child. And we thank you that you are that you love us that much. And I love being reminded of that. We can always get into the mundane, but we have to be reminded that you are God. You are the one who sent your son to die for us. You're the one that saved us. You're the one that calls us. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for your grace. Give us a good night. Give Carl safe travel as he goes home, and let him be welcomed with open arms by his amazing family. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thanks, guys.